tell you, Nancy Grace is coming with it. And she has new updates of the Cajun Navy. They have put up some new photos with the boats. Everybody is talking about the fourth boat. And I believe that on that phone call, Nolan was on that boat. He was unconscious or dead, and they transported him to a different boat, possibly, or he could still be in that boat hiding somewhere. And they drove off, and they did a little small video clip to prove that, hey, he's not on the boat. Who knows? Whoever was on that other boat, couldn't they move Nolan's body on that boat and then took a video? So when that comes, because that seems very planted. They planted a video out here, or that video could be AI. We don't know the time of that video. We don't know the date of that video. We don't know nothing about that video. And they just gonna give it to us and expect us to believe it. I'm not no fool. I was not born yesterday. You can just not tell me something to believe it. You're going to have to back it up like a Mack truck. So I came across Nancy video, and I think we need to react to it. Just came out. So let's see what's going on, you guys. Check this out.
Bombshell report tonight. Does it reveal new witnesses? And because of the new timeline report, is there a timeline shift in what happened the afternoon and evening? Nolan Wells seemingly disappears. His body.
You know what? I want to correct that. Nolan Wells died. Nolan Wells was murdered July the 4th that evening. Nolan Wells died, y'all. Press 5 if you believe Nolan Wells died on July the 4th. He died on July the 4th. Ain't no disappear. He died. They killed him. He was killed on July the 4th. That's what I believe. What do you guys believe? Do you feel like he disappeared? Or do you think they killed him on July the 4th?
Found washed up at Horn Island. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us. What is in that autopsy?
Now I really want to see the other autopsy to see, is there trauma to the body? Is there something that happened?
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
I have no doubt that what we're listening to and what she did is credible.
Not only has the timeline been analyzed by the Cajun Navy, the U.S. Cajun Navy, based on all sorts of statistical data, new photos are emerging. Take a look at this photo before we go to the Cajun Navy. Look at this. Check out what you're seeing. Look at all the boats surrounding where Nolan was. Leave up the photo out to Caitlin Becker, senior national correspondent, New York Post, star of New York Postcast, their new podcast. Caitlin, what are we seeing?
Well, what we're seeing here comes from this new report from the United Cajun Navy, and you're seeing several boats strung together. This is one of the first images that we've seen of this certain configuration of boat there. They're all identified, one of which was the boat that Nolan came out there on. There's several others kind of anchored with it and tied up, which begs the question of where was Nolan when this photo was taken? Because it's unclear if he's actually in it. What time was this photo actually taken? So what you're seeing here is, as you said, a potential pool of witnesses.
Hey, Caitlin, look at this. There's boat number 1. There's boat X. There's boat number 2. There's boat number 3. And there's a boat from which the photo is taken. Now, look in the water. There much has been made. Nolan Wells was drinking. Okay, well, apparently everybody was. They all have containers, open containers in the water. Okay, as far as I know, that's not a felony. Boat number 1, full of people. Boat X, full of people. Boat number 2, full of people. Boat number 3, full of people. People on the boat from which the photo was taken.
Okay, I still want to see the photo of Nolan was drinking. Where is the alcohol of Nolan drinking? Do y'all see Nolan on this picture? I cannot make out Nolan on this damn picture. Y'all must got some good ass eyes. Do you see Nolan on the picture? I still have yet to see the picture of Nolan drinking until y'all really show me proof. Like y'all want proof and facts. I don't want no speculation. I saw a photo of Nolan and he had a can, but you couldn't make out, was it alcohol? You can't make out if it's a soda can or what happened, because it was behind a white boy's back. I don't know what he was drinking. I'm not going to assume and speculate, because remember, y'all don't like speculation. You don't like when people assume. You want the facts. So keep that same energy. Now I'm asking, do y'all see Nolan on this picture? Press 2 if you see Nolan on a picture. Help me out, because I can't see. I can't make nobody out. Do y'all see Nolan drinking on this picture? Press 2 if you see him. Help me out. All right.
These boats tied together. You know what that means in my world, Caitlin Becker, joining us in the New York Post? Let me see, Caitlin, please. That means witnesses. See, when I look at that, I see witnesses. Other people say, hey, there's people having a good time. I see witnesses. Do you see all those people?
And a lot of them.
Who were they? Have they been spoken to? Have they been polygraphed? What can they tell me?
That is the question, right? We don't know from an investigative standpoint who has been spoken to, exactly who is in this photo, and what they have or haven't told law enforcement. There hasn't been really any transparency.
I don't know why her audio's like that, but I'll tell you the reason why. They're not investigating because they're trying to investigate to make it seem like he did this to himself. They're not investigating this like it's a murder. They don't want it to be a murder. And if they don't want it to be a murder, it's not going to be a murder. So they're investigating in the way to make it seem like he drowned, to make it seem like he did it himself, to try to figure out what they can do to make it look like it was his fault. That is what they're investigating. Press 2 if you agree with me. They're not doing a fair investigation. They're not investigating and thinking it is a possibility he was murdered. They're not. They are not, okay? And you can tell with the people they have up here speaking for them. Brandon Tatum, that is who their spokesperson is. That's who they went to for the interview. And what did Brandon Tatum say? He was on sugar boogers. He was drinking. And that didn't come from Brandon Tatum, his damn self. That came from them, okay? Them, the Warrens and the Wyatts. Their people is telling Brandon Tatum. Brandon Tatum ain't nothing but a character.
From what our reporting has showed, there have been dozens of people who have spoken to law enforcement as witnesses. But Nancy, we don't know if it's any of these people that you're seeing in this little cove area right here. And the timing, I think, is really important because these images are taken right around, I think the timeline's about 3:30-ish, 4:30-ish, when the boat that Nolan came out there on leaves and starts taking on water. That's one of the pegs for the timeline. When these photos were actually taken, that is a peg for a timeline. But what we don't know is where Nolan is. There he is. You can see that image right there. But we don't know is where Nolan was when that first image that we saw with all of those boats kind of tied together, when that was taken.
You are seeing a photo obtained by our friends at the United Cajun Navy. And speaking of the United Cajun Navy, joining me now is Brian Trasher, Vice President, United Cajun Navy. And for all of you attacking the United Cajun Navy, let's see that.
What did she just say? Why? And there's only one group of people doing it. Do y'all think the liberals are attacking the Cajun Navy? Press 7 if you know the liberals are not attacking the Cajun Navy. You say, why? You got to bring politics involved. Because politics been involved. The first time they came out here, they looked at a black dead boy and they said no foul play. Politics. Politics. When they kept on pushing it as a grounding. Politics. The reason why Nolan Wales is dead and covered up because of politics. It was all white people that had success, future, highborn, and they didn't want to ruin their life, and they all going to stick together and cover up this murder. That is politics. Politics rule this world. Politics is the reason why your ass can do or not do. Politics is law and order. I get so sick of y'all. Well, I ain't getting involved in no politics. Bitch, when how you live is politics. Me being in an apartment or a house is politics. Me driving and whether I'm doing a speed limit, whether I'm going to get pulled over and get a ticket, is politics. Everybody voted and to have governing over your life and what's right and what's wrong and what you can go to jail for and what you cannot go to jail for and this, that, and the other. Y'all say y'all want power. How can you want power? How could you want to change the world and you don't want to get involved with politics? You scared of politics. I thought you had God on your side. What you scared for? I'm sorry. I ain't mean to go there. Let's go.
Aerial footage they provided us. This is from the Cajun Navy describing their search, their aerial search. They spotted Nolan Wells's body. They have been integral in the search for Nolan Wells and helping elucidate the facts as we know them. Brace yourself, Trasher. Everybody else is getting death threats. You might as well join the party. To you, Brian Trasher, the United Cajun Navy has come up with a timeline. Now, did I hear Caitlin Becker from the New York Post correctly that photo where the boats are named Boat 1, Boat 2, Boat 3, and Boat X, is that from you guys, the United Cajun Navy?
First of all, I want to thank you for calling this report what it is, and that's a timeline. And some people have called it an investigative report, and that's not accurate because, as you know, we're not investigators. And what we did, Nancy, was we asked our followers to, hey, if anybody was there that day, you have pictures, videos, whatever, send it to us just so we can go through it, see if there's anything relevant. We took all that information and compiled it into just one digestible report of things we thought were relevant and could be helpful. Maybe they're not. Maybe law enforcement's already seen all this and it's nothing new to them. But we just wanted to be transparent about what we received. So going back to your question, the pictures that we received, we did not, as an organization, take any of these photographs. These are all images that we received from people who were trying to help us out and trying to help Nolan's family out.
So you asked the public for help, and you got it. You got a treasure trove of photos, and I find this one significant. Guys, we got an all-star panel, and I would like the all-star panel to look at their screens because I've talked about this before, Brian Trasher, and I'm frankly fed up with attacks on the United Cajun Navy. They're doing something, which is more than all of the haters can say. They're doing something. They have amassed evidence. They have created the timeline to the best of their ability. They have shared it with us. Unlike the autopsy that is complete, is being kept secret from us. That said, they're helping. Why trash them? That's, I'm not a shrink. I can't answer that.
I know why they trashing them. It's all what? Politics. That's why. Everything is political, y'all. Okay? They are trashing them because they feel like you are going against the white boys. They feel like he did it to himself. That's what Mississippi First said. And for anybody that's going out here trying to get answers, you are going against the grain. You're going against it. They don't want you to look for answers. They don't want you to ask any questions. If you ask questions, it's offensive to them. They want you to accept what they give you and just move on. They want you to believe that he did it to himself and he got drunk and he was on those sugar boogers. You know how those black kids are. You know how these black people are. They do it to themselves all the time. How many times in Mississippi did reports on black people hanging from trees recently, and they all did it to themselves, and they're teaching their kids. You see that, kids? These black people are crazy. They hang themselves on trees, and then they want to blame us. You know, they go out here, they're depressed because their parents are failures. And now he did drugs and alcohol. Now they want to blame us. And we're so sick and tired of it. And Nancy and this Cajun Navy is on a witch hunt against white folks and they don't like it. Okay? That is their mindset. Y'all don't know that? And then on top of that layer, you got the layer of the government and the layer of the president, and you got layers of agenda to push white supremacy. And white supremacy is, even if a white person did wrong towards a black person, they feel that white person should not be punished for that. Back in the day, they always did crimes and killed black people, but you're not going to get in trouble for that because white supremacy, we, as I'm speaking like I'm white, we are God chosen. Black people say they're God chosen. They feel like they're God chosen. And therefore, they have dominion over all animals. And they see black people as animals. They don't see your ass as human. Remember, you have to fight for your rights to get human. And they feel sympathetic, so they gave it to you, but they never really believe it. Okay, let's go.
At this photo and determine what, if anything, we can discern. Brian, you and I have talked many, many times, and I told you about a serial killer I finally convicted on one case, or the jury convicted him. And I proved a lot because of one earring. One earring I found in a particular location. The victim was wearing an earring, and the other earring had been sliced out of her ear, and I found it somewhere else, and I learned a lot because of where it was. Now, don't even bother to tell me that this photo that you have produced is not probative of something. The cluster of boats. Number one, I see a lot of witnesses. Trasher, what do we know what time this photo was taken?
We don't know definitively times on all these because even though they're time stamped, it could be a time when it was screenshotted stamped, not necessarily the original photograph. So we were very careful to denote that in our report that we can't verify timelines. Although based on shadows and positions and things like that, we can determine that some of these, as noted, are taken in the late afternoon. One of the things I thought was interesting about some of these photos we got, Nancy, was that a lot of the photos we had seen before were people like in waist deep water. Well, some of the photos.
I want to go look at this timeline. Hold on. All right, 3:23 video shows crowded. 4:27 video shows boats, people. Nolan friends left Horn Island. Group of people fighting. Witness states Nolan nowhere in sight.
That a lot of the photos we had seen before were people like in waist deep water. Well, some of the photos we provided show people up, water up to their chest, almost to their neck, and that's not really wading. That's treading water, in my opinion, and that I thought might have been significant to know that many people were, perhaps enjoying some libation.
So why did they have to leave the island again? They left the island because of a boat issue, but they couldn't wait to get towed, so they had to hurry up and rush. I think they left the island because Nolan was dead and they murdered Nolan. I believe that they unalived Nolan on that damn boat, and that's why they needed to rush out. They needed to make an excuse, so they said the pump. I believe that they have other boats there that helped them. I don't know if they changed the body of Nolan was in the initial boat to be in the next boat. But I believe that it's a whole group of them that is conducting this and keeping it wrapped. And it happens like this all the time. And they're trying to get away with murder.
But also in water that might have been a little too deep just to be playing in.
Good point. You also said something else really smart. And I certainly do not want to rely on this, but sometimes You have to, you take the evidence as you find it and you make the most of what you've got. You said you could tell this was late in the afternoon because of the shadowing. I wonder if the tide could tell me anything because how high up the water is. But these people holding drinks, they're not treading water, Trasher. They're standing there. These people are not treading water, and the water.
All right, so let's go back to that picture. No, what are you? I mean, what? What you see some black legs? They didn't say it was Nolan. Nolan ain't that damn dark. Whoever black ass legs, that is a dark person, don't you think? So they are you trying to say Nolan is the dark person in the back? That person is dark skin. Or it could be a shadow. I can't tell. I don't think it's Nolan though. I just think it's some random people. They don't look like Nolan to me. You know they would have said Nolan.
Point. You also said something else really smart. And I certainly do not want to rely on this, but sometimes you have to, you take the evidence as you find it and you make the most of what you've got. You said you could tell this was late in the afternoon because of the shadowing. I wonder if the tide could tell me anything because how high up the water is. But these people holding drinks, they're not treading water, Trasher. They're standing there. These people are not treading water.
And they all drinking. Do you think these people gonna be swimming and drinking at the same time? Huh? They not. Look, if I'm drinking, ain't no way I'm going underwater to swim. Cause all that water gonna get in my drink. They just like being inside of the water, drinking and socializing. Ain't nobody swimming.
And the water is up to their armpits. Is that the photo you're talking about as to where you think some of them are treading water, or are there other photos?
The photo at the top, yeah, you're right. It's about up to their armpit. I think there was one later in the report that that showed some of the kids. This was a screenshot of a social media post, and there's 3 boats visible. One fourth boat further in the distance, but a lot of kids on one boat. I say kids, young people on one boat. Some on the boat, some in the water. And some of them, it looks, maybe up to the armpit, but some of them, depending on their own height, it looks like it's, I could see a girl holding something in her hand and the water looks to be pretty close to her neck. So that's pretty far out. Now, we've said several times that Horn Island has a very aggressive slope. So you can be in shallow water and deep water within just a few steps. And once you get into that deep water, you're not as able to keep your feet on the ground if a current comes and pulls you, or God forbid a riptide comes and drags you. So that's why we thought it was significant to know that they were socializing in fairly deep water.
Can we go back to the main photo where the boats are numbered 1, 2, 3, X? Isn't it true, Brian Trasher, that these boats are easily identifiable by I call it.
I gotta say something because you pissed me off. Can't y'all tell if a riptide came on July the 4th? And he was nowhere found on site July the 4th at 7:30. He was already dead, man. They already took his body from that island at 7:30. He was nowhere on site. He died between the, honey, I believe he died between the hours of possibly, 3 to 5, somewhere around there. 3 to 4:30, somewhere around there. I believe that's when Nolan got killed. But about the riptide, other people witnessed a goddamn riptide. A riptide ain't gonna come for just Nolan ass by himself. Everybody would be like, yeah, it was a bad riptide, Yeah, it was the waters was very aggressive that day. I remember. Ain't nobody said that because it was not happening on July the 4th. So why even bring it up? Y'all just be bringing up shit.
Tail number like you would a plane. Every boat has to be registered. We're supposed to be registered. It has a number on it, and it often has a name like Triton. One was named Mac Daddy. There were other names. They're registered.
There was somebody gonna say there's a riptide. Who said it was a riptide? Was it a riptide on July the 4th? Where is the proof? Where is the proof? I'm not just going to take your word. But who knows if Nolan was taken by one? Everybody was there. Nolan was just not by himself. He was crowded with all those white people. It's July the 4th. Somebody would have seen something. He's not just out here just be like, okay, I want to isolate myself and I don't want to be next to anybody but myself. If that's the case, keep your ass at home. If that's the case, let me get on a boat and take my butt home so I can isolate myself. You go to Horn Island to associate and to socialize. It's a social event. Horn Island is not a place on July the 4th where you go to isolate yourself. He wanted to socialize with these people. So miss me with the bull crap.
And you know who the owner is, and the owner can tell us who was on the boat that day. Is that correct?
Theoretically, yeah. If you can make out the registration number or the name of the boat, if the vessel's name is registered, along with the registration number. Usually that's sometimes only on a Coast Guard document, but sometimes on a state registration, you put the boat name if it's asked for, or if you have one. So that is all possible. I'm told, and we're asked to compare notes with the sheriff's office, which we're doing. But I was told that there's been a lot of people that have been contacted and interviewed. And there's a lot of people who were there that day that voluntarily came forward to tell what they know. And because they might have seen their boats and pictures, said, we might want to go ahead and call them, let them know, where we were, who was with us and what we know. So I commend those people for coming forward because it's not always easy.
To Marie Pereira joining us in addition to the Vice President of the United Cajun Navy, who has been there from the get-go trying to help solve the case. Marie Pereira, registered nurse, which is important. But she is a criminal defense attorney and domestic violence expert. She is a violence expert certified advocate. Marie, you saw that. All those people in my book are witnesses. One of them is saying at 7:30, Nolan was nowhere to be seen. Now, I want to see the video or the photo again because you want to tell me that this guy, Nolan Wells, hit his head and drowned and none of those people saw what happened? I find that really hard to believe.
It is hard to believe, and that's why it's extremely important that the law enforcement are not too proud to get help from the public. Like you said, if people are sending in videos, they should be using those videos to conduct further investigation. I'm praying that this is a situation like Brian Kohlberger, where the police department, they were being ragged and being called ranky-dink police, while all the time they were investigating and putting together a case against him. I hope that because all the time they were saying, oh, what are they doing? It was I think the DA had a long, big beard, which wasn't very conducive to believing he knew what he was doing, but they knew what they were doing.
I know, it looked like Leonard Skinner sitting there. Hey, that videos from Officer Tatum's podcast, all this means witnesses to me. And do you remember in the Diddy case, there was actually a toll-free number for victims to call? There were that many victims, not that it helped at the trial, but that said, I think there needs to be a toll-free number. If you think you have evidence, dial the number. If you have photos like the United Cajun Navy is doing, they asked for the public's help, they got the public's help, and there's more to get. That's what is needed now. Every picture, every video. How often have cases been cracked when someone spots something in a picture they hadn't noticed before, or their memory is jogged by a photo or information they've seen online? I've pointed to this a million times. Brian Trasher, the Gabby Petito case. Her body would never have been found if it weren't for amateur sleuths. I believe their name is Red, Blue, and Methane. They were a couple out in the middle of nowhere in dispersed camping where there are no porta potties, no lights, no hookups, no anything. It's just you and the wild animals. I've camped and dispersed before. They're out there and they see a vehicle and they go, that's Gabby's Ford Transit. And they call authorities who would never have gone to this dispersed camping area, and they find her remains. That's how the case was cracked. Who?
And you know what else? You notice it's always somebody that you knew. Most times people are going to kill you and you're going to come up missing by people that you know. Okay? People you know, they have more of a motive to unalive you and to get away with it. Okay? So it's always people you know. And Nolan knew those, thought he knew those, you know, those boys.
Knows
Man.
what photo, what tip United Cajun Navy or law enforcement or the Nolan Wells team might get that might crack this case wide open. So, that said, Brian, how did you create this timeline? I find it very interesting.
So first of all, going back to your comment about internet sleuths, a lot of people consider themselves internet sleuths, but some people really are good. And there's one young lady who's helped us out on many cases, who was very helpful in this case. I haven't asked her permission yet if I could say her name, but if she gives me permission and I come back on, I'll be happy to give her credit for all the help she gave us. But basically, what we did was we took, like I said, we took these pictures, we juxtaposed them to, like Google Earth and satellite pictures of the island to try to determine exactly where they were. We looked at the initial coordinates called out from the, I think from the Coast Guard or from Marine Patrol when the missing persons report first went out, and basically just try to run these pictures against each other to say, okay, this boat's here now, it's not here later, and again, just create an index. We had to use some software to help us create the index of the pictures and make sure we put it into the best timeline we could. We included social media posts that, may or may not have been definitive, but this was happening in real time. So we thought it was important to put those up there to create context. And so again, like just trying to, our goal was to take what we received, put it into a digestible format that just about anybody could understand, hopefully. And if it's helpful, great. If it's not, then I don't think, no harm, no foul.
To Dave Mack, Crime Stories investigative reporter, based on this timeline, and it may be refined as the days go forward, how does it shift the timeline? Because there is a group of people fighting at 5 p.m. Who are they? The friends say they leave at 4:31. That should be able to be verified through GPS. 5 p.m. Nolan, according to them, is still at Horn Island. Is he? Because by 7:30, witness states Nolan nowhere in sight. So where was he? He wasn't floating in the water. He wasn't on the shore. If he had, hold on, Dave, to Joe Scott Morgan, if he had drowned, wouldn't he be floating in the water?
Perhaps. I've seen bodies in the immediate that will go directly to the bottom. And there are those that do in fact float. So a lot of it is going to depend upon the temperature of the water many times. A lot of it's going to depend upon, is there anything else out there that could, let's see, how can I put this, that could in fact impede the body's ability to float to the top, like beneath a boat. And as you can see, there are a lot of boats out there. So if in fact that had occurred, you can actually have bodies that will be caught beneath other vessels. I've worked cases like that where they were looking around for someone and they couldn't find them because the whole area was surrounded by vessels. And so there are a lot of elements that go into this, Nancy.
Hi guys, Nancy Grace here. If you are a homeowner, you've probably Horn Island. It's also the boat that reportedly leaves, according to the occupants, without no.
More bull crap that he gave. You know why? Ain't no way he's just there, standing in the water, and you see where all the boats are. All the boats are in areas where people can stand. If you look at the picture, the boats are behind the people standing in the water. So no way he just standing and then he drowns and he's under the damn boat. Are y'all buying that? We just standing there like them people. Then he just drowns. Remember, he can swim. He just drowns. And then he floats in the back underneath the damn boat. That's what that white man just said. Get real. Get real.
They claim they begged him to board their vessel, but he said no. Let me understand this. According, Caitlin Becker, according to the mysterious Katie, not that mysterious because her sister's posted and we've obtained her photo, we think. She says he left with his friends. They say he stayed with her. Okay, that's a problem.
Yep. That's a problem. And there are also quite a few friends that he had come out with. So the Triton that he was on, there were 3 or 4 people on that particular boat. That's the one that he had come out on, and the one that his friends say, we asked him to get back on the boat. He didn't get back on the boat. His phone was on the boat. We left. We took on water. We needed help. He said he was going to stay to talk to this mysterious, as you said, Katie. Mysterious Katie says that she talked to him for a minute. It was no big deal. Then his friends called him back, and that's where he went, and she just assumed he went back on the boat with his friends. The issue I think that we're running into here is that the friends weren't just the 4 that you're seeing right here. There were multiple boats, 3 boats full of friends that came out. So
Did you hear that? So Katie was there, confirmed. Katie said they did call him on the boat, right? They called him on the boat. The white boys say they did call him on the boat. Nolan went on the boat when they called him on the boat. And that's when an attack happened on Nolan. When he got there on the boat. I believe Bart did something to Nolan when they called him over there on that damn boat. They did something to him. He dead, unconscious. They called around. They was like, I need a pump. That was the cover up, and they probably transported him on another boat or hit him in the boat they was in, one or another, because it was so many different boats. And that's what happened. That's what happened. That's what I think.
He had been going back to a second boat full of his friends while the Triton was gone, or were they referring to the Triton itself? That, I think, is where the biggest bit of confusion lays.
Dave Mack, question. Dave Mack, Crime Stories investigative reporter, didn't at the get-go, the friends on the boat state they didn't know the name of the girl. They didn't know who she was. They had never seen her before. I'm paraphrasing. We can look up their exact words. Then, does it turn out they're actually texting with her about where is Nolan?
Apparently, Nancy, you have to realize a couple things here, and it's getting lost in the muck and the mire, is the friends. We use the term Nolan's friends that he went to Horn Island with. Well, you know what, Nancy? Many people have said that he didn't know Katie, they didn't know Katie before that day, and that Nolan just started talking to her. But now it appears that they, being the group of friends, they were communicating with Katie and knew who she was, and that during the...
Then why would they say they didn't know who she was? Call her some girl, a girl.
Well, here's the problem, Nancy, is I keep hearing friends, but you realize that Nolan, he went out to Horn Island on a boat. You know, Warren Hudson has talked a lot. He's been with Officer Tatum talking about, his best friend Nolan and the whole thing. But first of all, Warren did not go to Horn Island on the same boat as Nolan Wells. And we have heard over and over from parents and friends, he would, roam with the one that got you there, right? So Nolan went with one boat and they expect...
Child, what that got to do with anything? Warren went with them as a group. They all went on boats together. He was on a separate boat going out there, but his ass was on the same boat when Nolan was dead on that damn boat, when they was behind talking about some, oh, Nolan, oh my God. Why was Warren ass on that boat? You didn't come on this boat, so why was Warren on that boat? Why was Bart on that boat? Y'all didn't come on that boat. So why don't y'all keep y'all asses on the boat that you came on? But you called him on Wyatt's boat and you did that to him. Okay? That's what happened, I believe. They be bringing up some irrelevant shit, right? Press 3 if they be bringing up some irrelevant shit like it means something. What the hell?
He would return on the same boat. Yet, we're now finding out that was never the plan. He was never going back on the same boat that took him to the island. So when we talk about this group of friends, Nancy, they were scattered on 3 or 4 different boats. And we keep focusing on the one with the bilge pump problem. But now, what boat was Nolan Wells supposed to be going back to the mainland? We know he didn't ride with Warren Hudson to the island. So what was he supposed to be on?
Brian Trasher.
What are you talking about, dude? He was going back with Wyatt. He came there with Wyatt. He went back with Wyatt. They called him. He didn't go back. He was supposed to go back with Wyatt. They called him on Wyatt's boat. They was on Wyatt's boat saying, come on.
Us, Vice President, United Cajun Navy, on the case from the very beginning. Brian, do we know the time of the CETO call made from the Triton?
We do. I don't know it off the top of my head, but I know it's been reported, and obviously the CETO would have the exact time of that recording and stuff in their archives. But it seems like it was after 3 o'clock, before 4:30, and we know that the tow was canceled because somebody got in touch with Bart Edmondson, who ended up towing the boat himself, being a good Samaritan. And of course, now that poor guy is getting, raked over the coals just for being a good, what we try to tell everybody to be.
Oh, shut up. Oh, shut up. Oh, that guy is being raked over the coals. Do you hear these white men? They all in this shit together. Bart is getting over the coals because we heard people in the background saying, oh my God, Bart, you killed him. Oh my God, Bart. Okay? Stop it. You see how the bull crap is? They all...
Neighbor helping neighbor.
Now, didn't the grandpa call and cancel the tow?
Yeah, I think that I saw that report as well, and it may have been that somebody contacted him and said, hey, we got somebody to tow us, so maybe he called because he had a better signal and said, hey, they don't need it anymore. Again, these are all...
A better signal on Horn Island? I thought Nolan didn't need his phone because you don't get no signal on Horn Island. But somebody got good signal on Horn Island? You see how they lie? They lie so much.
Kind of, the things that were already out there. I don't think we included too much about that in our report because it had been reported on so much. But I also just wanted to point out too, on the photo on page 14, this is one that we included, even though we could, there's a young man that matches Nolan's description, and I'm saying it that way because we can't verify that it's him in this picture, and he's partially in it because there's a girl blocking him, but it's a young, slender African-American male wearing blue swim trunks from what you could see in the picture. According to the person that submitted that photo, it was taken at approximately 4:50 p.m. Central Time on July 4th, which would have been...
That is not no damn Nolan. Nolan did not have on dark blue shorts, and Nolan is not that dark. That person is dark skinned. And won't you just get those 4 people right there? You can identify the faces because you covered it up. Ask them, who was that black guy you was with? Was that Nolan Wells? If it's not Nolan Wells, let us see who the black guy is. Won't y'all investigate first before speculation? Don't they accuse us of speculating? If you don't know this is Nolan for a fact, why put it out there? Why? So go back to the drawing board, find out these white people, identify them, ask them, well, who is that black person? Get their name and talk to them before you bring out information. Remember, investigate, know the facts. If they know that's Nolan Wells, then hell, we're going to ask them any questions because clearly y'all was the last one seen Nolan Wells, if that Nolan Wells. But that ain't Nolan Wells. He too damn dark. I'm looking at them dark ass knees. Nolan didn't have dark knees like that.
After the GPS data says that the Triton had left Horn Island. Now, that's only relevant if this young man in the picture actually turns out to be Nolan. We never could verify it, but we thought it was.
Do they think all black people look the same just because we got dark skin? Oh, they all must be black. That's so horrible. So horrible.
Enough to at least include as a possibility.
Hi guys, Nancy Grace here. Please join us on Crime Story. That does not look like Nolan Wells to me. Okay, I'm going to have to bring in NASA to enhance this. Brian Trasher, does this guy have facial hair? That's not Nolan.
I mean, again, we couldn't verify, but we could tell that it was an African-American male on the beach wearing blue swim trunks. We thought that was enough to say, okay, it's possible, but we did.
If that's not racist, I don't know what it is. If that's not racist, I don't know what it is. It's almost like, well, okay, the suspect is African American, or the person that did the crime is African American. So we're going to arrest a black person on Horn Island because you fit the description. You're black and you're on Horn Island. So let's arrest you. I think it's enough. But I thought y'all say y'all don't deal with race. Racism doesn't exist. Why bring up race? This is some racist shit. He don't even look like it. Nolan. His skin complexion is different from Nolan's. And if he got facial hair, Nolan don't got no facial hair like that. No. This is racism. That guy talking the R word.
But those are dark blue. Aren't those deep dark blue?
It looks like it, but Nancy, I don't know if this picture's been enhanced. I don't know if it's been filtered. You know what I'm saying? So
what in the hell? If that's not adding more to it, is that's not making shit up? Well, I don't know if it had been. If you don't know, why put it out there? Didn't y'all say don't put it out there if it's not facts? But it's okay for the white people to speculate. But when we do it, it's race baiting. But when they do it, it's fine. And they're doing some racist shit. You just picked that boy out here because he's black. That's the only reason, because he's black.
And that's the whole reason why we couldn't corroborate, but it was like, okay. And also too, this does create a good picture of a flotilla of boats. So where if we're looking for a particular one, it was a good one to hang on to. So again, fully disclosing that we couldn't.
Now that shorts it don't even look the same with this picture right here. Hold on. Where that picture? Come on now. Dark blue. Are you serious? Man, if that's not racist, I don't know what that's some racist shit. To pick up a black guy just because the suspect is black. So no, that's racist.
Did we say whether that was him or not? Probably not.
But we need it for the investigation. We need it. And you provided it.
Rule it out.
You got it.
Use it to rule it out.
Okay, so is this Nolan? If it is Nolan, this is at 4:50 and proves he's still on the island when the other boat, the Triton, leaves. I don't think this is Nolan. But that's just my own two eyes, 2020 and 2018. It needs to be enhanced. Joining us now, veteran trial lawyer out of the South Carolina jurisdiction, John Mobley, the founder of the John Mobley Law Firm. See, a lot of people would say, oh, this is a nightmare, all these witnesses. I would have a field day interviewing each witness separately. It's like a bonanza.
Sorry, I can't take this dude. I can't take his ass seriously. Comment, let us know what y'all think about